You guys, it is a blessing to be here again and to be a part of things. We have got a lot, and when I say a lot, we have a lot of stuff to talk about. The Middle East is literally on fire right now. California is too. We're probably going to have a conversation about that. That is a big old mess. And I think there's some commonalities with some of the things that are happening in the Middle East as well with what's happening in California.
With what's happening in London.
Oh, my goodness.
With what's the world is changing.
Bro, the world is rapidly changing, and we are seeing some things that we can't. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I think more than the election of President Trump as the president of the United States is a reason for. It's indicative of a change.
Yep,
a change that's kind of bubbling up, and it seems like it's bubbling up from underneath. In all kinds of different connections. It's because, how do you say, the wokeness, stupidness, ungodliness in all these different spheres is now floating to the top, like other stuff that floats to the top. And it's becoming clear to the rest of the world to see. The fires in L.A. are indicative of this. What's happening in London is indicative. What's happening in Israel is indicative of that. And again, we're living in amazing times.
Yeah, and look, there's so much to talk about here, and I don't even know where to start, to be honest with you. So I guess I'll tell you to pick where you want. I will do this one thing before we do get started. I do want to bring up the super chats and the super stickers. We were recently demonetized again on another video. It's crazy how that works. So when you guys are dropping those, they are a blessing. They really are, and we do want to thank you guys for your support. Let me just read a few of these. And again, thank you guys so much for them. Brad, you say LA officials issued a new mandate barring Gavin Newsom from being around the fires. This is to ensure they don't have to deal with a grease fire.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. I don't know if it's too soon. The fire jokes. I don't know, but it is humorous. Question for all. At Jimmy Carter's funeral, why was everyone offering Jill Biden their condolences?
that I don't know. I mean, yuck.
That's hilarious, by the way. That's kind of a hilarious statement. You know, I'll say this about Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter appeared to be a really good family man, okay? But that's about all. He was a terrible president. Yeah, I think everybody knows that. I don't have to say that. I think everybody kind of understands the gist of that one. Okay, Brad says, Hexeth being questioned today if he can guarantee he won't leave weapons in America. Yeah, I would love to read your comment, Brad, but yeah, we've been getting hit a lot lately. Thank you. It is funny. Susan O'Leary, you say hello from New Jersey. Looking forward to this. God bless. Thank you so much. Tessa Walters, thank you. Bev S, thank you. You guys are awesome. Do we have some new ones coming in? No, I think that's it. I think we lost that in. Okay, where do we start, David? There's a lot to talk about, bro. There's a ton to talk about here.
Well, first of all...
Oh, Armed and Ready. I think that's a new one that just came in.
Armed and Ready?
Yeah, Armed and Ready. Let me see if I can find that again. I lost it. There it is. Armed and Ready. God bless you both. In case you didn't know, the Babylon Bee reported that California police arrest arsonist for using a gas blowtorch instead of electric blowtorch. That would be the Babylon Bee. That's hilarious.
Well, I mean... Well, here's hilarious. Did you hear about the fire trucks that were brought down from Oregon that were not allowed into California because they couldn't check their carbon emissions?
Okay, so I fact-checked that to see if that was true. It's not.
Okay.
By God's grace. But they were stopped, like they always are stopped, just to check for the safety of the engine themselves. My understanding is when you take engines up to the forest, they have to be certified a very specific way because some of these engines can very, very easily start a forest fire the way that some of them are configured. That's my understanding. I don't know how true that is. but from some of the reliable fact check sources, one of them, of course, being a fireman, that's what happened. So it was not an emissions
I'm thankful
thing.
It doesn't.
Yeah, it was not an emissions thing. As a matter of fact, I will tell you this, and it was probably a dumb political move by Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom made an announcement that he is going to lift any restrictions that are related to, the global warming nonsense, related to anybody who wants to rebuild a house in the fire burned area. So in other words, it'll take you, in order to rebuild your house, it will take you like a year instead of 4 years to get your permits.
This is the 6th largest economy in the world.
Yep,
in the
world.
I think it was Jack Hibbs who said, we pay more for everything here.
Way more.
And we get less service than anybody. I mean, how did this happen in a country who takes care? And again, we've been stressing, and I think the theme for today is the fact that Western civilization, Israel to a certain extent, has been stressing the wrong things. Has been putting its attention, its mind, its money behind an agenda that is the wrong agenda. Maybe even some of them might be okay, but in how do you say, the levels of importance, they're much, much lower on the importance scale.
Yep.
And we've been stressing little fish in reservoirs and not the need of the water. We've been stressing the emotions of different populations. That's what's happening in London. Yep. Nobody wants to make the Muslims feel bad, so we don't stress the Muslim problem there, and so forth and so on. We've been stressing the wrong thing. And again, the state of California has been stressing what's not important, has not been stressing what's important, and a lot of people have lost their houses, and a lot of people have been hurt drastically because of this.
Yeah, bro, it's very, very true. And really quickly on a side note, Hunter King, we are praying for your grandma. As a matter of fact, let's pray for that right now. Father, we pray for Hunter's grandma. Lord, we pray that as she's in rehab, that you would touch her and heal her, Lord. And we ask these things in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And Dolores Varela, thank you so much. God bless you. Bro, the politics that relate to this are so unbelievably insane. The lies that are being communicated, the fact that now the president of the United States, thank God he's on his way out in a few days, is actually saying that the reason why the fire hydrants were not working over there was because of the power loss that was happening, which is, by the way, complete hogwash. That's all a bunch of baloney, number one. Then the other thing that he does, talk about adding salt to a wound, is he stands up and proudly announces that for each person affected by the fires, they're going to get a one-time fee from the government. They're going to get a one-time payment from the government of $770.
Oh,
okay,
really?
That's basically a $5 million. As a matter of fact, let's just do the math. I believe it's right around $4.7 million is what that's going to cost the U.S. government. So let's just do the math really quickly. I just thought it'd be fun to do. Let me go ahead and do it. I'm being facetious as I say this. but let me just say, if we take 6,000 residents, because that's the number the president gave, and we multiply that times 770, that's $4,620,000. Okay, hold on. $4,627,000. Now, let's just be fun. Shall we just be fun? Let's take the 6,000 residents, okay? And let's multiply that times $770,000. Can we do that?
Okay.
6,000 residents, multiply it times $770,000. Okay? That brings us to, let me see here. I just lost it. How about we just be more realistic? Let's be more realistic. Let's just do this. Let's say 6,000 multiplied times 100,000. Let's just do that. Let's just do that calculation. Okay? That becomes $600 million.
And what are we paying for?
Wait. I want to give perspective on this. $600 million.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Do you realize that 2 weeks ago, we just gave Ukraine 5 times that amount?
I did not know that.
Just 2 weeks ago. Just 2 weeks ago. And a few days ago, we gave them another 1.2 billion. Double the amount.
So, what is our government doing?
Our government is seeking to destroy our country. That's what's happening. It's a totalitarian move.
So Biden is trying to destroy the United States?
No, his handlers are. Biden doesn't even know his own name. I don't even think Biden knows how to change his diapers.
What is the plan? What are they trying to do? And what did President Trump stop?
I think the plan is to create a level of chaos that is so extreme that the citizens of this country feel debilitated by that. And in essence, the function of mass formation psychosis settles in, and the captors become the heroes. It's a totalitarian thing. It's communism.
So let's what did President Trump, or what is he saving us from? I mean, think about Kamala Harris. I mean, she's a puppet. Her puppet masters are pushing forward.
I'm going to say this, and I know that you totally agree with me, and you're on the same page with me when I say this, okay? But I think it's really, really important to just make this very, very clear, okay? Donald Trump isn't saving us from anything. The Lord is the one who's going to have his mercy on this country. Yeah. But the Lord will very likely use Donald Trump to give us a reprieve. I think that the globalists are going to stay away for the next 4 years. I think that whatever is left of the portion of the deep state that's trying to destroy Donald Trump and all of us that would seem to support the ideals of how our country should be run will probably get removed. But Donald Trump is going back to changing things quite a bit. Now, I want to make myself clear. He is not an America-only person. He's an America-first person. Yeah. There's a big difference between the two.
Okay.
But right now, the concern is there's a massive splinter going on within the ranks of the movement that Trump represents that really deeply concerns me. And I think we have to be very careful how we play this.
Is it up to us? Or how is it up to us?
I think it's it's up to the collective.
Okay, so before we get to the up to us, what's the two movements? What are the two directions?
Oh, there's not two. There's several directions. There's a lot of them.
We're all excited about President Trump coming into office, by the way, including Israel.
Yep.
But there's already sounds in Israel that says, Trump has not been anointed by anybody, so let's put him on a political level and then not on a messianic level.
Yeah,
he's not the Messiah.
I think most people are in that stage right now. They're recognizing it. They're managing their expectations. I do think that if there's anybody that has a chance to eliminate the IRS, it would be President Trump. I think if there's anybody who has a chance to completely reform what we know as immigration today, it's President Trump. I think if there's any chance of things going back to a normal place, it's President Trump. The Trump effect has already kicked in. If you think about it, they just passed a federal law that bans schools from bringing biological men into female sports, and that's before Trump has been sworn in office.
No, the Trump effect is all over the place, including the Middle East. We're going to be talking about the Trump effect.
We should probably talk about the negotiation, about the deal,
and see what's going on. And that's a basic Trump effect. But before we go there, and again, maybe this is going to be, we'll use the hostage negotiation / ceasefire because that is an interesting kind of way to illustrate. But the Trump effect is all over the Middle East, okay, including in the nations that are against us and the nations are for us. But I think more and more we're starting to realize, and again, Israel's going to be pushed into a negotiation and an agreement. I think that is not a very good agreement. Part of the reason that we're agreeing to something that, in my opinion, we shouldn't agree to is because of the Trump effect. Because Trump is saying, I don't want to deal with you guys. I've got bigger things on my plate. I've got Greenland. I've got illegal immigrants. I want to get this off my plate as soon as possible. So do what you need to do and do it quickly.
Yeah. I think that's where it's going. By the way, Pookie, if we do have time, we'll do it. Thank you, by the way, for your contribution. God bless you. And Gavin Newsom uses uses ground smelt for hair gel. That's pretty funny, actually.
Ground smelt?
It's the fish that Newsom is destroying California to save.
Yeah, well. And well, he's doing a favor to the indigenous people.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, and by the way, you're right about that, Pookie. Kiss the 2028 Olympics goodbye. Good luck on that one.
Oh, we're not gonna do it?
Well, look, it's supposed to be hosted in LA.
Okay.
Right? And Trump's already calling for it not to be hosted there. And I understand why he's saying that. It's like, why do you want to embarrass the country?
Okay, I want to talk about the negotiation and what's going on because it might happen literally while we're sitting here. I'm going to be checking my phone to see if the agreement is signed.
Yeah, let's start on that. Let's have a conversation about that.
But I want to tie that together with, in my mind, what's happening, for instance, in London and the whole gang issue, the Islamic gangs in London.
Nothing new, by the way.
It's nothing new, but here's the thing. It's nothing new about what's happening in L.A., but we're starting. What I'm trying to say is somebody's ripping the clothes off the emperor.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And the emperor is slowly, losing another piece of clothing all the time, and we're all seeing more and more in different places in different ways how the emperor is as bare as we think he is.
Yep.
I got to be careful what I say here.
Yep. Listen, it's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. And then also we need to spend a few minutes talking about the change in leadership in Lebanon and why that's a disaster. That, by the way, I'm just telling you right now, that is 1979 to 1982 getting ready to happen all over again.
Okay.
Especially if you're a Maronite Christian president. What in the world are you thinking? I'm telling you, bro, it's puzzling to me.
Well, I can, if you understand the how do you say, the web that Lebanon actually is tangled up into, and the change that is going on, are you going to get a big winter coat? Because I think Greenland is going to be the 53rd state of the United States.
53rd? Who are the other two that they're getting added? Canada, 51, and then who else, 52? I don't know. I know this. I know that Greenland, the overwhelming majority of Greenlanders actually want the United States to own it.
Oh, come on. I mean, there was a movie, I don't know, back in the 80s about a country that declared war on the United States so the United States would conquer it and turn it into another American state.
That's really funny.
I mean, think about that. That's the best thing that can happen to you.
That's pretty funny, actually.
I mean, the best thing that Greenland can do is declare war on America right now. And then Trump conquers Greenland and it becomes, and the people say, thank you, conquer us.
But, if that were to happen, bro, the rest of the international world would lose their minds.
Exactly. But here we're going back to what is important and what is not. And
I agree.
Okay. So let's start off with not the negotiation, because the negotiation has been going on for months. Let's start off with the agreement that it seems that has been signed, which, by the way, is very similar to an agreement that actually bubbled up between Israel and Hamas already in May of 24, I think, last May. And
forgive me if I'm skeptical.
If it's going to happen or not.
Go ahead and talk. Not if it's going to happen or not, but just just go ahead and let's talk about it for a second.
Again, there are 100 hostages still, 99 hostages still in the dungeons and the tunnels of Hamas somewhere in Gaza. And Israel says, we cannot finish this without us getting our hostages back. Hamas is saying, we want this war to end with us still in power. We don't care how many people are killed. We do, because we're going to use that as a showcase to the rest of the world. But we don't care about our people. We care about other people who care about our people. And that's the idea. But basically, they're talking about a 2 or 3 stage agreement, ceasefire agreement, hostage release, where 33 of the hostages are going to be released now. And they're talking about hours immediately. I mean, America has agreed to it. Israel has agreed to it. And we're all waiting for a terrorist in a hole in the ground in
Joe
Gaza.
Biden's America has agreed to it.
Well, I think Trump has agreed to it.
The anti-Semitic America has agreed to it.
I think Trump wants this off his table before he comes into office. I think that's part of the reason everybody's so pushed forward on this one. And Israel has I understand. Agreed. We have the list of the hostages to be released, though Hamas is not telling which of them are with us and which of them are not.
Let me get this straight. You mean to tell me, in exchange for releasing the hostages, that these savage animals took,
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be forced to recognize them as a legitimate government?
Not in the first stage, but yeah, in the end, no. They're still talking about not having Hamas back in power at the end.
The only solution is to destroy every single one of those animals.
Well, they're not going to be a legitimate, but they might be part of the arrangement, Andy, and that's what they're fighting for. But let's finish off this. Stage number 133 back, including the 1-year-old baby, by the way. Remember the Bibas family? But
Is the baby alive, bro? None of us think that baby's alive.
I don't think that's a possibility. I mean, I'm his name is on the list. But think about this. In return for that, they get a ceasefire for a couple of months. Israel moves away and from a couple of places. And while this is happening, we negotiate the final stage, which would be the final ending of all of this, including the final, decision for the another 63 hostages. Now, imagine what happens to the families in Israel that see the list of names and their child's name, or their family member's name is on the list, and they're ecstatic. And think about the ones that the names are not on the list. Think about what it feels to see the name of your son not on the list of those being released. And we don't even know what the details of the rest of the release. And there are a lot of people in Israel who are saying Israel should not have agreed to an agreement that only releases part and doesn't release all of them.
I agree.
I kind of tend to agree also.
We're in a position of advantage here. You got the incoming president of the United States says all hell's going to break out in the Middle East if you don't do this.
But here's the thing. Then again, we're back at how you deal with stuff like this. And the question is, do you say no to the 33 that they're willing to release?
Yeah, you do. You say all or none.
James, it's easy for me to say it. It's harder. It would be much harder if it was my son. It would be much harder. But anyway, I want to go that is the situation. What they're talking about now, and this is what Blinken said the other day. Blinken, okay, is that at the end of this, a group government or a consolidation or a conglomeration of the PA, the Palestinian Authority, together with other Arab representatives, will be the administrator of Gaza. Nobody has said Hamas, but they're talking about putting Mahmoud Abbas and the PA back in power in Gaza. But Blinken said yes.
What the heck?
Blinken said yes, but we need them to upgrade or to reform a lot of things before that can happen. And the main problem right now is there's no leadership in the Palestinian world.
This is just idiotic. I'm sorry.
I know.
It's idiotic. It's moronic. You're going to put Mahmoud Abbas in Gaza, the same guy that says Hitler was an admirable person? That when Hitler destroyed the lives of all of these precious Jews, he did it because the Jews were bad people?
Okay, so this is idiotic. And again, I'm not sure I have a good understanding about why Israel went down this route, because we keep on thinking that the Hamas is like a terrorist organization. And I heard somebody say the other day, we need to relate to Hamas as a country, as a government, and say this: when you get attacked, you go to war with another government. And when you go to war, you do everything possible to make that other government do what you want to do. Look at World War II. Look at Iraq. Look at Afghanistan. I mean, you're at war with the other government. And when you're at war with the other government, you say, okay, what will put pressure on another nation or another government to do what we need to do? And again, our Western values get in the way of this, because we're going to say, all right, we're going to kill the enemy soldiers and we will destroy their ability to wage war. The thing is that the enemy soldiers are embodied inside the enemy population, inside the enemy civilians. And the enemy doesn't care how many of their civilians you kill. In fact, the more you kill, the better. Doesn't care how many buildings are destroyed, because the more you destroy, the better. Doesn't care how hungry and sick they get, because the more they get hungry and sick, the better. And you cannot afford fight a war on that ledge, which is why more and more people in Israel, by the way, are saying that we need to do what they don't want us to do more than anything else, and that is conquer territory.
Yeah, I mean, look.
Did I say it? I'm not the first one who said it.
But, bro, when are we going to wake up on this?
So there's talk about leaving Israel inside the Gaza Strip at the end of this. There's talk about Israel sitting on the Golan Heights at the end of this, and areas that are on the Israeli border. There's talk about Israel keeping at least 4 or 5 outposts inside Lebanon at the end of this. And there's more and more sounds of something like this in the Middle East. We can't just back away from everything, because we're going to find ourselves right back in the opening stages of another October 7th.
We're already there. I mean, if this doesn't get nipped in the bud, and we don't respond with just a sheer animal force that needs to be responded with, especially considering the fact that even this regime in office right now has admitted that Hamas doesn't want to cooperate. Come on.
Why should they cooperate? What do they have to lose?
That's the point. They've been incentivized to actually fight. They've been incentivized to not cooperate.
Incentivized by whom? By Western public opinion.
Right. Look,
who has turned them into some kind of freedom fighter.
Brainwashed opinion.
And it's still there. But I will say this. I mean, we just now heard the new Secretary of Defense, okay, who is in a different place. And there's more and more Americans and more people in the Western world who are starting to understand that Islam is not just another of the monotheistic religions. It is a major issue.
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Which, by the way, I'm one of the few people that contend that the commencement of Islam actually came from a Christian heresy being taught. And it's the truth. It's the truth. I wish we could just go back and talk about the manuscripts of the Quran. We don't have any extant manuscripts from anything earlier than the late 9th century.
Do we want to go there? Let's go there, and I'm going to say this, okay? Why was Islam needed back when it was created?
Well, the same reason why you have other cults. Same reason why you have other heretical teachings.
No, I'm going to go a little bit historical on you. Let's go back to...
I'm just say this. I'm not even convinced that Muhammad of Islam was a real person.
Yeah, but what did Islam do? And we're seeing this. And if you understand anything about the Muslim world, the Middle Eastern world, you're going to see how this is working right now, because you can see what happens. And it goes like this, more or less. Okay? The Arab world and the rest of the Muslim world is clannish. Clans, tribes, families. Everything is, what do you call it? Nepotism. Okay? Everything is whatever. So if you want to be more than a clan, you need to do something that brings together people from different clans. You have to give them something to be loyal to that is more than their cousin, their brother, their uncle.
Fair enough.
All right. So you start with power. Okay. My uncle is bigger than your uncle, and if you don't bow down to my uncle, he's going to kill you. But that actually destroys the whole idea. So you create a higher being, a higher calling that my uncle, your uncle, and his uncle can agree with, and that is what is going to bring us together, okay, to go conquer somewhere else.
Yeah.
That was warlord on steroids.
Yeah.
That's what Islam is. And that's the reason it was connected. And the thing is that people submit to Islam and they don't submit to a worldly power. And when you tie, and look what Islam did very well. So why am I mentioning this? Because if you understand that, you understand that if you take Islam out of the equations, all of these different tribal effects, look what's happening between the Sunni and the Shia, are going to eat each other alive. If you take the power out of it, look at what's happening with Syria today. They're going to eat. I mean, the only thing that holds together a Middle Eastern nation is power. And the minute you take the, dictatorial power out of it, What's left is Islam, and that's going to glue it together. And then the different aspects of Islam are going to go to war, which is why we're seeing today the divide between the Shia and the Muslims. And we're seeing that the only way for powers to create more impact in their own borders, look at Iran. Iran used Islam to become the great power. Look at Tayyip Erdogan. Okay.
Yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay. And everybody gets on this Islamic power wagon and said, this is going to bring me, because they realized, by the way, they've tried. Remember, Gamal Abdel Nasser tried to create a secular Arab movement.
Yep.
He fell flat on his face.
Yep.
Okay. Why is that important? Because who's stuck in the middle of the Muslims not being able to unify?
Yeah, look, I'm with you on that. But the problem, okay, so let's back up so we can just get some clarity. So it's your contention that the existence of Islam, or the commencement of all of the Islamic beliefs as we understand them today, was predicated upon the assembly of a group of people who could agree on one perspective or one point of view in order to obtain power or influence. Is that
and conquer? Conquer.
I think that's reasonable.
And colonize.
I think that that's
I
reasonable.
mean, look what Islam did.
Yeah, except for the fact that it had to be predicated initially upon some kind of a religiously motivated heresy that came from really only, there's only really two real world religions, true real world religions in existence: Judaism and Christianity. Islam they call a world religion, but the reality of it is the commencement of Islam was in essence a heresy of traditional Christian teaching. I believe that the Muhammad that we read about, who died somewhere in the mid 7th century, or 6, they say he died somewhere around 630, 640, whatever. I think that was the Muhammad. And when we say Muhammad in Arabic, we're talking about the blessed one. It's in reference to a Jewish man, the Messiah, Jesus. So a lot of the perversions that come, even the stories of who Muhammad is and Muhammad's wife, Iyasha, and meeting her when she was 6 years old, and then betrothing to her at 6 and marrying her at 9 and consummating that marriage at 9 years old. I mean, that kind of stuff. Look, that all.
Do you know that the Quran says that Muhammad had relations with a 9-year-old girl?
Yes.
States it.
Of course. Iyasha. Of course.
Which is why, and again, I can't help but, how do you say, segue into other things. Are you following what's going on in London?
Ugh, bro.
James, it comes from this, because this religion actually celebrates this, and you can find movies on YouTube of marriages between 30-year-old men and 9-year-old girls. Okay, and
they're all over the place.
But here's the thing: the Muslims brought that mentality to the shores of the British Isles, okay, when they emigrated. And because it's not legal in Britain, but their legality is not based on common law, it's based on Muslim ethics, probably
Sharia law.
Probably, well, even, I don't even
and
think
there's 90 Sharia law courts right now in the UK.
I mean, thousands of young British girls were actually taken advantage of inside England, and the justification of the people that did it is, well, Muhammad did it.
Yep.
It's not illegal.
Yep.
So when you have a group enough, and not everybody participated in this, but a group of people big enough that have accepted that this is acceptable behavior because it is in the Quran, okay, then you will have a problem with this being something more than just an occasion. Okay, I mean, everybody's got its pedophiles and everybody's got its wackos, but this becomes an accepted practice by a whole group of people based on how they read the Quran. By the way, it's not by chance that on 7th of October, a lot of what happened was sexual warfare. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And that is acceptable practice by Muslims. You read anything about how the Muslims actually conquered the rest of the nations, that warfare is totally, totally accepted.
Yep.
And again, you're seeing how this was imported from Saudi Arabia, not from Saudi Arabia, from the Arabian Peninsula into England. And now in England, it's become a problem. And here's where it comes together. and this is something I think is really important because the fires, the situation in Israel, the situation in Gaza, the situation in London, all come together to. I heard somebody say the other day on television, the best lie is 90% truth.
Oh yeah. And I want to I want to go on the record at saying something. Islam didn't start in Mecca.
No.
It didn't start anywhere near the Arabian Peninsula.
So they take Christian values, they take Jewish values, they wrap them up, and they turn them into Sam. He is the king of deceivers.
Oh yeah.
And this is what he's doing. Okay? Now, because we are people of truth, the Judeo-Christian mentality, the Western civilization that is based on the combination. Who did I hear in PragerU? I heard it say the combination of Athens and Jerusalem, which is
yeah.
Okay, democracy and Bible.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah.
Okay, Athens and Jerusalem, which is the core of Western civilization. Okay, those two aspects have truth at their center.
Yep.
I mean, the Bible talks truth. The Bible is truth. So you take some of the truth, you twist it around, and you turn it into something else. So what could have happened in London, because any other civilization would have put this down really, really quickly, because they don't want to, how did they say? They don't want to offend the Muslim brothers in the northern cities in London, so they are willing to divert the truth or distort the truth in order. Okay, we don't want to offend the Native Americans and their traditions about the smelt fish. What's it called?
Yeah, the smelt. The fish that is being saved while completely destroying all of Southern California.
So there is a truth in that we don't want to destroy all the different, but. Again, the Bible is very clear about there are some truths that are more important, and truth is the deciding factor.
No, but can we just go back to the whole fish thing? Okay, because you're a Christian man, I'm a Christian man. Okay, you're a Christian Jew, so maybe you got one up on me. But let me make myself clear on one really super big major issue. Okay, because this makes me sick. When you go back to the book of Genesis, God told humans to have dominion over it all.
Yep.
He gave it to us for our disposal. So I get the whole idea of wanting to save a whale. Great. Save a whale in your refrigerator if you're hungry and you want to eat it. Okay? But this whole smelt nonsense, go save it. It looks like it might make a great anchovy-type topping on a pizza if you so choose to eat that way. No, I hate that.
I think they're bigger than that. They're bigger than that.
No, they're little. They're like the little tiny.
Do they have fins?
I don't. I just saw a picture of one recently. They look like anchovies.
Do they have scales?
Yeah, they're. I don't know. They're
kosher.
Maybe they're kosher. Maybe I don't even think they are kosher.
They are kosher.
By the way, Bobby Grow, I just see you in the chat. Good to see you, bro. I miss you, man. You got to come by and visit. He's a good guy.
Really?
Yeah, we don't agree on a lot of things, but he's a very smart man. He really is. No, he's a really, really smart guy. Total theologian. Really good guy to sit down and have a conversation with. I really like him.
Okay,
I love him. He's a good brother. Anyway,
so again, I mean, think about this. All right. When we move away from the biblical ideas, which say, okay, life of human beings. By the way, that's a very Jewish idea. You know that in Jewish tradition and Jewish life, okay, life is more important than anything else. I mean, we're not allowed to eat pork. Not that I don't eat pork. We are. I mean, but okay. But if you have no choice, then your life is more important because we are the breath of God. So how did the breath of God move from people's lives to people's fish? And I think that's where we're losing it. But I will say this. Listening to what's happening in London, I've been reading up about it a little bit later. London and Northern England.
Yep.
Listening to what's happening in LA. Listening to what's happening in Israel with the whole Gaza thing. I think slowly we're unpeeling the woke mentality. And we're seeing, not that there's not a fight against it, and you were talking about our Secretary of Defense, and the woke is still trying to keep him covered up. Okay, but slowly, and again, I can't help how God orchestrated the event on the hills in order to, I don't know if not orchestrated is not a way, but wokeness has been seen in its absurdness in California
Yep.
this week. And I think that's just another piece of the puzzle.
The end
that's
result
being
of it.
played.
And listen, that's what helps people come to the ridiculous conclusions that they come to. I went to we talked about this. I went to the PragerU studios about 9 months ago, and I recorded something, about an hour and a half worth of recording that finally got released today.
By the way, we did talk about it, so maybe a quick note, because we just now prayed for somebody who's in rehabilitation. But what do you know about the situation
With
of
Dennis Prager? He's improving, but he's had quite a fight in front of him. He had a pretty serious injury, and it's affected him substantially. But he's doing well, and we should all be praying for Dennis. I think that there are some things that Dennis has said that I definitely don't agree with. But I will say this about Dennis. Dennis might be not a national treasure. Dennis might be a world treasure on many levels. Dennis has done more for a lot of Christians than Christians have done for Christians. And I think there's a lot to be said about who Dennis is. He's a wonderful man, and definitely someone we should be praying for. But let me back up for a second, because I do think it's worth bringing up.
Okay.
So I was at the Prager studio. I was recording at Prager's. And that was about 9 months ago. We did about an hour and a half worth of recording. They were going to take bits and pieces of it and use it in different spots. So the first of the recordings released today. I talk about the story.
By the way, if you haven't seen it, see it.
Yeah, I talk about the story of Hadrian. Okay, which by the way, I don't even mention him by name. I just basically say that there was an aversion that a Roman emperor had towards the Jews living in Judea and Samaria.
After the Second Rebellion, yeah.
And after the Second Rebellion, which, by the way, me and you were the one that had probably the most extensive conversation about this time period. I've never talked to... I think I had one conversation with you about this time period that lasted like 6 hours in Israel.
We've done it.
It was an incredible conversation. I learned more from you in that one conversation than I have in any other context in Bible college, anywhere else. But we talk about this emperor who, in essence, through his aversion for Jews, renames the land that they are in, Judea, renames it Palestina, after the name of the ancient enemies of the Jews, the Philistines. So because the land was renamed as such, the occupants of that land, namely the Jews, were referred to as the Palestinians. So when people tell me that the Palestinians are the first people in the land, you're right, they were, except for the fact that they were Jews.
The word that mixes in here is the fact that Palestina is Judea. And Jews are called Jews because they come from Judea. So when you take the hills of Judea and call them something else, that means all of the Judeans have now been turned into Palestinians.
Yeah. So if you really want to be real about some, weird bull caca occupation lie that you want to continue to tell, you can go ahead and say it, but you just remember you're walking in ignorance. You honestly don't know anybody. But that's not the reason why I brought this up. I brought this up because it was unbelievable how many angry anti-Semitic comments came
on PragerU.
And it just released a few hours ago.
Now, here's the problem. That is historical truth. You can't argue that. I mean, it's not into interpretations like other things. Again, maybe one of the things we got to go back and do Israel 101 and go through the different stages about what we're doing. But basically, the word Palestina comes from the Philistines. Remember the Old Testament Philistines, who were the boat people? The Bible's versions of the Vikings is a little way I like to put it together, and they were hated and they were feared, and the Old Testament talks a lot about them. They were put in their place and banished, but the name of the area where they conquered in the beginning kept their name. So it was called Palestina or Palestina. in ancient times, in the Bible times. It's actually mentioned in the Bible. But then the Philistines disappeared. Not the Palestinians, the Philistines disappeared. So it reverted back to Judea. So these are the hills of Judea. This is the province of Judea in the Roman Empire.
It's so true.
And then when the Judeans decided we can stand up to the Romans and we rebelled against the Romans were really, really upset and said, we're going to banish you from your country, and we're going to even not allow you to call it by its old name. So the Senate in Rome sits down and said, okay, what do we do? What are we going to call it? Are we going to call it New York, or we're going to call it, New Washington? No. Somebody says, well, the Jews hated the Philistines. So let's take the Palestine coast, that we all call it, and extend it to the whole country. And from now on, and they wrote a decree, this will be known as the province of Palestina in the Roman Empire. And what they're doing is poking a finger in the Jewish eye.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what it is. By the way, did you hear what Israel is naming the operation for the recovery of these hostages?
No.
Derech Eretz.
Derech Eretz.
The way of the
way of the land.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything new?
I don't even you're going to have to help me with that one, because maybe it's just my lack of awareness of the modern language. I consider myself relatively familiar with Hebrew, but
no,
explain that to me. Why would it be referred to as the way of the land?
Well, it's much more. Derech Eretz is also a way to say the right thing.
Oh, the right. So okay. So I get it now. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to try to translate it into English American terms. This is the way of what is us. In other words, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like meaning, we call it a code of conduct. Maybe in English, when you, like if you go in the forest and you're hunting, right? You would basically call it. I forgot the phrase that they use. They call it the way of the wilderness, or the way of the forest. Like there's rules that you go by that you don't do. Is that the?
It would be.
I'm trying to understand it. That's why I'm asking.
It would be something like Derech Eretz in Hebrew is, this is the right thing of who we are. I mean, you have to show Derech Eretz. We teach the kids in kindergarten.
So it's not geography tied; it's culture tied.
It's culture tied, and it's culture tied to our civilization and our core values.
So this was a phrase that existed before the land was repatriated, correct?
Yep.
Okay, that's what I needed to know.
Okay.
That makes a lot of sense.
Have you heard anything new? Because they're on the verge.
And then Michelle Obama, Big Mike, has announced that she's going to skip the inauguration of President-elect Donald Trump.
And that is
that would be the second time she's done that, by the way.
Because they don't have gender fluid bathrooms at the inauguration?
Yeah, probably.
Did I say that?
By the way, when her husband had to be there, she refused to be there. I think probably because he's got his number.
33 hostages are going to be released at the first stage. And it's going to last 42 days. But they haven't agreed. Hamas has not agreed yet. I mean, the whole world is saying, okay, and now Hamas is saying, okay, but we wanted this and we wanted that. And they're going to play with our feelings a little bit more. And again, this is tearing Israel apart from down the middle.
I just I personally don't understand why we're just speaking from the position of strength. Look, Donald Trump said there's going to be hell to pay. So you know what?
Okay.
Cooperate, or there's going to be hell to pay.
So what do you think that there was pressure put on Israel to reach an agreement by the Trump administration?
No.
Well,
I don't look.
I mean,
I think
Bibi's been inferring this all over the place, and he's been saying this. We need to say, okay, now, otherwise it's a balagan. And if they break the agreement this time, then now with Trump in office, we can do something different from what we've done until now. Now, I don't know how that works, but yeah, you got the idea.
Yeah, but you tell me right now how that looks. You tell me how that works. This clown who's in office right now won't hesitate for 1 second to try to figure out some way to use lawfare to destroy Trump if Trump gets involved in any issue that he can't right now as a commander-in-chief, even though he's a president-elect. Tell me how that's going to work. I'm telling you, bro, look, let me tell you how bad Biden is getting right now. Did you hear about this? Did you hear about the new rule that he just passed 3 days ago?
No.
I believe it's through the function of executive order, where he basically now has put Israel on a list of countries that are forbidden by the United States of America to sell computer chips to. Graphic processor chips.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that one.
Here.
And here's the thing. I mean, we make computer chips as much as the United States does.
Oh, come on. What a foolish, dumb, tragic mistake. Look at this. Read that. So I'm not making it up.
Globes. I don't think that'll work, though, either.
Biden drops bombshell just before departure restrictions on chip exports to Israel. As part of new regulations approved by Biden in recent days, Israel will be included in a category that imposes restrictions on the import of graphics processors made by companies such as NVIDIA, Intel, and AMD. By the way, dummies, every single one of those companies have a massive presence in Israel.
Which is why it's more, how do you say? I think it's more. But I wanna bring up something that we haven't heard in the whole hostage negotiation. Me and you have sat here many times and told that the only way that they're going to get Israel to swallow this kind of hostage negotiation if it's part of a mega deal. And we keep on talking about Trump is talking about the mega deal in the Middle East. I'm not hearing anything about the mega deal.
No, there's not going to be. Look.
Wait, let me finish this. Nobody's talking about connecting this instance in Gaza to anything else.
And I'll tell you why that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen because the condition made. Let's talk about who the real main player is here, because that's what really the real main player is. One person and one person only, and that's Saudi Arabia.
Yep.
So let's talk about this for a second. Saudi Arabia isn't going to lay a condition on Gaza. Saudi Arabia could give a flipping rip about Gaza, just like, which is a bigger issue to talk about, right? Just like Egypt. The issue here is, will we finally disarm Iran? If we can disarm Iran, then we have a deal. Because my security concern is going to be the bigger issue, and that is the head of the snake that's threatening the use of nuclear weapons.
Okay, but we know that Iran's on his back foot now.
For how long, bro?
That's the question.
That's the issue. I think that Saudi Arabia sees the same issue we do. And if you're going to permanently disable Iran, you have to destroy their nuclear facilities.
Yeah.
Energy or not, they got to go bye-bye. I mean, when you're right now as the energy, Abdulaziz, did you hear him? Abdulaziz from Saudi Arabia basically said, we're going to start monetizing all of our minerals, and he specifically names
uranium.
Uranium. Not just uranium. He says yellow cakes. That's what he's saying. He used that word, yellow cakes.
Well, Iran has been taking off the table as far as the proxies have been concerned. Iran, ever since, well, we just now said goodbye to Jimmy Carter and let him rest among the peanuts in peace.
Ma'asalam, Jimmy.
Yeah. Anyway, he was the president of the United States, but do you remember that he messed up the hostage situation back then?
Oh, come on. Look, Reagan gave an ultimatum that was virtually the same as the one that Trump gave. Release them or we have a problem. Hell, you're going to pay the price with hell. So on the day of the inauguration, if I recall correctly.
Yep.
Was it the day of the inauguration? Yep. They released them.
Which I think is what's going to happen here.
Well, Trump is saying before the inauguration, or there's going to be hell to pay.
Well, I think we're seeing a similar situation here.
I agree.
By the way, have you seen the new movie, Reagan?
No, I haven't. I hear it's a great movie.
I've heard too. So my son-in-law and daughter-in-law just went to see it, and I think they've given me very good reviews. So,
Taryn and Peter?
No, the other two. And Karen saw it.
Justin, Laura.
Yep.
Well, Justin will give you a good. He's pretty critical of that,
so he says it's really, really good. So
yep, I'll have to go watch it. I've been wanting to watch it for a long time.
So if we're going to go this way, let's tie in who sits between Saudi Arabia, Gaza, and by the way, the Houthi fired another rocket last night.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I did not hear that news article.
So yep.
Where did it come
sirens
from? Where exactly did it come from? The southern
Yemen.
port?
From Yemen.
Southern port of Yemen.
Yep, and again, because it gets so big. So here's the weird story. I mean, I can't help but put this together. The rocket was intercepted before it entered Israel airspace, but some of the debris fell inside Israel. Now, let me just make this clear. Israel is small enough that we're talking about when a rocket gets up into the stratosphere above Israel, the footprint of where it can hit is half the country.
Yeah.
So they intercepted the rocket, and but as far as they understood, they saw some of the debris fall down, but there was no reports of anything hitting anything. This morning, a family walks out of his house and sees some of the tiles, some of the shingles from the roof on the floor, and they look up and they see one of the gas tanks, the engines. I mean, something as big as a VW bus, okay, embedded into their tiles on their roof. Okay, it turns out that the whole thing had just hit their house during the night, and they didn't even wake up.
Talk about heavy sleepers.
It didn't explode because it was an empty fuel tank. Okay, made of very aluminum material, but it actually, you can see a picture of it hitting the side of the hill.
Oh my gosh!
Which means it's not over. More people get hurt running to the bomb shelters. I mean, just think about it. People, you're living your life. A siren goes off, and now you have to get out of bed, scramble to your bomb shelter, okay, and wait there for 15, 20, half an hour until you can go back to bed. And that's not conceivable. And the Yemenis are saying, we're going to do this as long as you don't reach an agreement with... Now, here's a question. What do you think is going to happen with the Houthis if Israel does reach a ceasefire agreement with Gaza?
They're going to find a new reason to do what they do.
Exactly.
Because they're evil.
Yep. And not only the evil, their whole existence is based on their resistance.
Yep, that's right. That's right.
And we're going to see this, which is why, and let's tie another situation into this. What's going on with Egypt? What's going on with Egypt buying tanks, ships, by the way? Egypt is creating a major navy.
By the way, who are they buying the ships from? Did you
from
find
Germany.
Out? It is Germany.
A lot of German.
Okay, and what about the planes?
A lot
still
of
U.S.
Still U.S. Planes and tanks.
And we're still selling F-16s to them.
As far as I remember, F-16s, but I don't know. They are not getting F-35s.
Yeah, that's you. By the way, you want to know why that's the case? Why they're not getting F-35s? That's a Israel thing. That's based on an agreement with Israel.
Israel has agreed. The United States has agreed not to sell anybody F-35s.
Oh, they've cut it off. I thought Israel.
No, anybody in our area.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
By the way, do you know the F-35s are doing an amazing job?
Oh, yeah. Listen,
no, these are the F-35s that everybody thought we're not going to be doing. I mean, maybe we need to have a little bit of a conversation about modern military technology and what's going on.
Yeah, but the funny thing is the F-35 is really kind of the cheap. I'm not going to say cheap. It's the inexpensive version of the true flagship of the United States, which is the F-22.
Raptor.
The Raptor.
But here's the thing. It turns out that the F-35, is a modern version of the F-16.
Yeah, that's right.
It's the fact that it is so diverse and so it kind of covers so many different options. Israel is done with the F-35, but the United States never thought would be possible. And more than anything, Israel is flying through Russian air defense systems like they're butter.
Like it's nothing.
Well, that's not true because they're doing a lot of work and there's a lot of technology that's going in.
Yeah.
Jamming frequencies. But let's go back to Egypt. Okay? And Israel's starting to get worried because Egypt is massively rearming in massive levels. Yeah. And the question is, why? What is Egypt looking for? What are they worried about?
There's a couple things that go to my mind right away. First of all, Libya. Libya is a big concern for them. And Libya is a big concern for them only because of Russia's dominance in the area.
And who
Russia
else
is going to win that civil war.
Right? So who else is sitting there? It's the Turks.
Yeah. So obviously Turkey to the north. Now the big thing with the Turks is Egypt has a very specific distaste in their mouth for what's happening with the Turkish government, only because of the emphasis that Erdogan is placing on Islamic Brotherhood. He is the Islamic Brotherhood of Asia Minor. So if you think about it, again, although I disagree with some of the commentators, Erdogan is not a secularist. Erdogan is a
Oh, no.
fundamentalist.
Who said he's a
Oh,
secularist?
Mike Duran basically said that he's not a religious. He's not led by religious fundamentalism.
Erdogan is seeing himself as another
Leader of the Ottoman Empire. Yeah.
He's actually calling himself Erdogan the Magnificent, I think, in a couple of places.
That's right. It's 100% true. 100%
Yeah,
true.
I mean, he sees himself as a instigator of the Ottoman Empire.
100%. He sees himself as somebody that could probably be the new leader of Islam, of the Islamic world, all over the world.
Okay.
I mean, he's the guy is just he's a mess.
But here's his problem. He's sitting in Turkey, Asia Minor, which gives him control of the complete Black Sea, by the way.
Yep.
Okay, but the eastern part of the Mediterranean, okay, and most importantly, the gas and oil that has been discovered
Which is in the northeast.
in the eastern part of the Mediterranean, none of it is in Turkey's waters.
That's right. Matter of fact, the land right and the mineral right, not just the land right and the mineral right, is Israel's.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, there's a massive fight. There was a massive fight with Lebanon over this issue when Lebanon's economy started crashing.
Well, I'm going to say three. There's Israel, there's Cyprus,
Yeah, Cyprus.
and there's
that's right.
Lebanon
Yep.
that has some of the resources, which is probably what's going to bring that back. And in a weird way, some of it is Egyptian.
Yeah.
So you've got this joint kind of connection between Israel, Lebanon, and Egypt. Okay, and Erdogan is saying, "What about me? I mean, am I not going to be a part of this?" Which is why not only is Egypt building massive amounts of ships today, also Turkey is building a massive
31
navy.
right now. They're in the process of building 31, and they just announced building 3 more. One of them is a Queen Elizabeth size carrier class. It's a massive carrier.
Yeah, well, and not as massive as our nuclear
of course,
carriers, but
obviously.
it's like the British carriers. I mean, we call them jump carriers.
Yeah. Well, put it this way, bro. There's nothing like them.
Yeah, no. But
And you're
no,
talking about the second largest military in NATO.
yeah, but if he can land an Air Force base in the middle of the Mediterranean Sea, okay? But Turkey has the same problem that China does, which is really, really, if you go into the geopolitics of it, okay, because the islands surrounding Turkey in the Aegean Sea and the Mediterranean Sea are Greek. And that means that Turkey is hemmed in by the Greek Isles, mainly Crete. I don't know if you understand, but there's been sounds that he's kind of put his eyes on Crete and some of the other Turkish islands. He has a big presence in Cyprus already. The northern part of Cyprus belongs to Turkey, or is it Turkey?
How is he going to do that with NATO?
That's the question. And here is the main issue. And I don't know if you're looking at what's going on in the Eastern Mediterranean right now. Israel has come out as a regional power. Saudi Arabia is actually going to be on the Israel team. It looks like Egypt is going to be on the Israel team.
100%
And
going to be on the Israel team.
Erdogan is saying to himself, wait a minute, okay, they want to be the other power. The fall of Iran has raised up the the dreams of Turkey and Erdogan. Now with his control of Syria, because he's basically controlling Syria, then we're having another. We're going to see another arms race in the Middle East between Egypt, Saudi Arabia on one side and Turkey on the other side.
Yeah. And then especially with the complexities of the PKK, when you start getting into...
PKK as in the Kurds.
Yeah, correct. And by the way, the complexities that were created by the United States of America, that's probably something I should have prefaced when I first mentioned that, right? The fact that we did the training and the arming of them, much to the distaste of, in essence, Turkey, because of how we handled that whole situation. When we start talking about Al-Qaeda, basically, Al-Qaeda in Syria, that was a problem that we created. But the bigger issue here, and I think the one that bears more significance, centers around the idea of the fact that a very bad taste is still left in the mouth of Erdogan, but he's literally grabbing a hornet's nest by playing in Syria, because Syria is going to become a bigger issue for Russia eventually.
Yep.
And the alliance that Russia is going to want to make in order to maintain its security structures or positions in Syria isn't going to involve Turkey the way people think it is. I think Turkey will have to take on somewhat of a subservient role to Russia, at least from within the context of restructuring in northern Syria. They have to. I mean, unless, this is where I could be wrong. Unless Russia says, who cares? We have no interest in Syria. Let it all go to hell. Okay. There's no way they're doing that.
Again, Russia cannot back down from the Middle East. And
they can't.
I'm gonna say what I've been saying.
They can't.
When I was still a tour guide, standing on the in the theater in Caesarea, looking out at the platform, I'm going to say, Israel has found massive amounts of natural gas offline. We are now investing in pipelines that will bring that natural gas to Cyprus, to Greece, and to the rest of Europe, which means we, with Greece and the Europeans, have a natural route. Now we're competing with Russia in that. And who doesn't have any of that? Turkey doesn't have any of that. So it doesn't. So Turkey is against the pipeline and Russia is against the pipeline. So you see that there's an economic glue joining Turkey and Russia together to fight against Israeli influence and, to a certain extent, Egyptian influence in the Eastern Mediterranean.
But that land glue has to have been made weaker as a result of the existing land bridge confiscation, for lack of a better term, that was dropped by Trump at the time that he was in office. When he walked away from that, then something changed dramatically with the alliance that existed between Turkey and Russia. And by the way, there's a really good reason why Trump continues to speak very highly of Erdogan. Trump is saying that Erdogan's one of the smartest guys in the region. There's a reason why he's doing that.
By the way, he is not stupid. We know that.
No. People look at him and they think that he's like some twisted, idiot.
So
he might be twisted, but he's brilliant, actually.
Here's this, okay? And again, I'm just now pulling this out of the stratosphere, okay? But think about this. With the loss of Syria, Russia has no freshwater port. I mean, it has no warm water port anywhere in the world. The only ones that they have are in the Black Sea. All the rest of their harbors, all the rest of their facilities are in the Northern Ocean that get frozen in every winter. So let's say Turkey comes to Russia and says, we'll allow you to build a major naval facility in northern Cyprus.
Or they would do that in a heartbeat.
What?
In a heartbeat. Are you kidding me?
And here you have...
And by the way, the international community couldn't say jack about it because it's under the purview of Turkey, and because Turkey is NATO and Article 5 would apply in their own sovereign will to be able to create the alliance that they would want to, there is no sanctioning power.
There you go. So
holy smokes. Why didn't I think of that?
Okay. Well, you already have Turkey and Russia joining forces in Libya.
We see that
in Libya. You see that in Libya.
Yeah.
Okay,
especially the southern Mediterranean coast is really valuable to Russia for that reason. Warm water ports. That's right.
Okay, the only warm water port they have is in the Black Sea, and that's controlled by Turkey. So if Turkey allows Russia a presence in the Eastern Mediterranean under their sphere, by the way, where else is Turkey investing a lot of its influence? In Sudan.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and by the way, there's a bigger reason for that.
Okay.
I think that reason, by the way, is more strategic in line with the civil war that exists in Libya, which may be part of the major reason why Egypt is strengthening their forces, especially in the area of Upper Egypt. Believe it or not, in the southern part of the country, they are growing their forces.
By the way, when you say Upper Egypt, you mean the south part of the country.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
In Egypt, when we say Upper Egypt, it means to the south. When we say Lower Egypt, it means to the north. So for example, it's crazy. Lower Egypt, you're talking about, like, if someone talks about Lower Egypt, then you're talking about Cairo, even the Sinai, depending on what Alexandria, we say Iskandria. It just depends.
Iskandria?
Iskandria. That's
it's
what
not
we say,
from Alexandria.
That's Alexandria.
How do you say how do you say?
That's what we say. That's the thing. It's funny.
How do you say Alexander in Arabic?
Oh,
It's
Like the name Alexander?
Yeah, it's from Alexander. He created.
I know, but we say Escandria is what we say.
Interesting.
But
I never knew that.
I'm really curious. I'd have to go ask.
How would you say Alexander the Great in Arabic?
Yeah, I don't have to. I don't know. That's
Because
something that's never been in my vocabulary.
isn't he the reason for the name?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
And the Great
Northern
Library.
Egypt. That's right.
So the guy.
Were we in the library together in Egypt, or is that before your time?
No. I'm talking about the Great Library that burned down in Egypt. I mean, during the Ptolemaic.
Oh, I thought
period.
you were talking about the library, the big library in Cairo, is what I thought you were talking about. I know what library you're talking about now.
That is a loss.
The King's Library. That was a
loss.
Terrible, terrible, terrible.
Well, it did some work. I mean, our translations of the Old Testament come from there.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
Did I tell you that? History is a fascinating subject.
Oh my goodness, especially the area where we're from. There's some amazing things. Amazing things, especially when you spend time in certain parts of Upper Egypt and some of the history there. Even if you go back to the Valley of the Kings and that whole area.
I haven't done Egypt, by the way.
You've never been to Egypt?
Well, I've been to the Sinai when the Sinai was in our hands, and I was young and I was stupid and I was having a good time sitting on the beach.
Oh man, you would love it, especially the bigger museums in Cairo.
Yeah, well, we got some museums to go to. Anyway, so to tie all of this together, we're seeing an arms race actually setting off. Egypt on one side, Egypt and so the way I say it, and I just now put up a YouTube video. Go to the Balagan Connection if you want to get a little bit more on that. There's three main powers right now that are projecting powers in the Middle East. And when I mean projecting powers, I mean powers that actually are able to project power more than their borders.
Yeah.
Israel is the hinge pin of the moderates in the Middle East. Yeah. Iran was one of the projectors of power in the Middle East, and they're on their back foot. And the third is Turkey. And Turkey has a pretty big, pretty well-trained, pretty capable military.
Oh, my goodness.
And these are the three players that are going to be playing in the regional politics. And we're doing this under the auspices of the major world players. So we've got this triangle with playing inside the bigger triangle of China, the United States, and Russia.
Yeah, that's right.
And these two triangles are superimposed one on each other, but not directly. It's not a one-on-one. So these are the power politics that are playing in the Middle East right now. And it's going to be fascinating to see how President Trump actually sets in and says, and what I like about him more than anything, and again, whether I know the Greenland thing is going to come or not, President Trump is saying, I'm a world power. Let me use my power.
Yes.
Let me use my power for the United States people. And here's the main issue. The whole woke mentality that says we don't do bad things to other people because we want to be nice. No, you are a world power. Use your power. You don't always have to project military, but sometimes you project military. Sometimes you project.
Yeah, that's right.
And be a world power. And let's put it this way. The world under American control is better than any other combination that we can see, and history is going to prove that again and again. We're going to.
But I think a lot of what Trump is doing right now is just for the national interests of for us. I think that's really what it goes, and I think it really goes to that. He's looking at what's best for America, and he's smart enough to understand and know that what's best for America, in essence, is going to center around what's best for Israel in many ways, especially when we're talking, and I'm talking about specifically Mideast policy.
Yeah.
He knows it. He knows that if he wants to be on the right side of history, you don't get dumb and you don't mess with Israel.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He is geopolitically, politically motivated, combinated in business aiding, basically saying what the Bible said.
Yeah.
If you're good to Israel, you will be blessed.
Yep. He's got enough people around him that are making him hip to that information.
I do you think he's a Christian?
I think Donald Trump is a cultural Christian. I'm not so sure that he's an actual Christian at the way the Bible defines it. But which is kind of, Jordan Peterson, I think, is kind of on that same level. But there are legitimate, genuine, God-fearing, Bible prophecy believing, super close to the Lord men that are around the president every single day. One of them, Charlie Kirk,
Okay.
who's a very close advisor to the President of the United States. Charlie Kirk supports Israel.
No, definitely.
He's a God-fearing, Bible-believing Christian. He loves God with all of his heart. He actually lines up with our eschatology. Our view of Israel is the same, and he spends a lot of time with the president and advises the president.
I'm interesting to see the Congress. What do you call when they say okay about a nomination? I mean, like they're doing. By the way, I just now heard that what's his name, Hegseth has been acclaimed or whatever.
He's been confirmed.
Confirmed.
They confirmed him, really?
I think so. I just now saw it come up. I mean.
Boy, is that good news for Israel? That's good news for the United States. Boy, if that's the case, that would be amazing.
In a tense hearing, Republicans embraced his bid, view and browser. So it looks like yes.
It says say that again. What does it say
confirmation.
again?
New York Times.
He was confirmed. It says.
That's what it says here. Hegsworth confirmation here. No, wait a minute. It's a confirmation
hearing. Yeah. Because I don't think they can even confirm him that fast.
Well, you know who else has to be confirmed since we're talking about born-again Christians that are being nominated by... Okay, Huckabee is going to be confirmed sometime soon. Okay, I'm curious. They're not going to say
no to Huckabee. There's no way. They don't have it in them to say no to Huckabee.
I'm curious to hear the hearing. Okay, that talks about Governor Huckabee and what they're going to say.
They're going to.
They're going to trash him big time.
Everything they can. They're going to try to make him look like a cuckoo.
Oh yeah.
They're going to put him down. They're going to say he's a racist. All of that stuff.
Yeah.
He's gonna do all of that stuff.
Okay, and before we finish, I want to share something that happened yesterday in Israel, and I heard about it today.
Okay, yeah, this is heavy.
Wow,
this is a good closing point, I guess, for us.
I guess. There was I'm going to say a mistake, an explosive mistake in Gaza. So a Iraq military unit made a mistake, and a big explosion took place in a house in Gaza, and 8 Israeli soldiers were hurt. 5 of them were killed. And one of them is Aviad Weissman, a young 19-year-old soldier in the Nachal Brigade. And, when you hear about people falling in battle, it's terrible. But when you know the family and you know the people, it turns out that Aviad is the son of one of the believing families, the Christian families in Israel. They live in Poria, which is overlooking the Sea of Galilee. I know his parents. He's grown up in Netiva and Joel's ministry all his life. He's a very young soldier. He was 19 years old. 19. And so this sad part of it, it's all over Israeli news and it's all over everything. And I'm listening to the news this morning before I came over here in the morning, literally kind of what's going on in Israel. And they had segments about the funerals of all the soldiers. Now, Aviad is part of the Messianic movement, part of the born-again Christian movement in Israel. And I was wondering, what are they going to say about his background? Because every time a soldier falls, they talk about, who he was and what he did and where he lived and whatever. And the only thing that I noticed is that they talked about the fact that he was not, it said that he was buried in the municipal cemetery of Poria and not the Jewish cemetery of Poria. By the way, very interesting distinction, because Jews do not bury non-Jews in the cemetery with them. But, that was interesting. And I'm listening to the funeral, and they said that this is what his father read over his grave during the funeral. And it was a passage from Romans, from the New Testament. And he literally said, okay, this is a passage from Shaul HaShaliach, the apostle Saul. And he didn't say it was from the New Testament, but he reads a passage.
Why would he refer to him as Shaul? I'm really interested to know that.
Because we call him Shaul in Hebrew.
But so I understand that, but the name change isn't acknowledged
No,
in
it
Hebrew,
is, but
but it's
maybe
more commonly
maybe
referred to
as shown,
as his
yeah,
original.
yeah, his
That's
Hebrew name. We use his
yeah,
Hebrew name,
that's
not his Latin
interesting.
name.
That's interesting.
But what was interesting is that on Israeli Channel 2, in front of all of Israel, somebody read the New Testament in Hebrew.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh,
That's
James,
so crazy.
I just choke up thinking about it. Okay, thinking about the words of Jesus
It's heavy.
literally on public television in Hebrew in front of the whole country.
I'm telling you, God is doing something.
Well, I mean, it came at a terrible price. But what I'm trying to say is there is an openness. This would have never happened when I was growing up.
Yeah.
There's an openness for believers, for Christians in Israel. When I mean Christians, I mean the Israeli Christian movement. I mean, this kid grew up in Netiva with Joel and you know, and all the youth camps that we grew up in. Uh, his father saved my uncle when my uncle had a heart issue at a meeting one time, and he was actually unconscious. He was actually brought to life in the middle of the church. He had a whole group of doctors working on him. So what I'm trying to say is, New Testament in Hebrew, live on
That's heavy.
Israeli television. You know, thank you, Jesus.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus.
God is doing some pretty amazing things. And it's interesting because as much as I love connecting the dots with all the geopolitics that relate to Bible prophecy and so on and so forth, it's also really fun to connect the dots with the Spirit, with the movement of the Spirit of God in the lives of so many people that you would never expect it to happen. Like one of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world right now, besides China, is, believe it or not, Iraq.
Yeah,
I mean,
heard.
of all places. And I'm hearing that there's some serious fires catching in Iran right now. There's a lot of believers coming up. Like it's shocking.
So again, pray for my people. Pray for what's going to happen. Pray for what's happening now. And pray for the Prince of Peace
Yeah.
to settle in the Middle East. Oh, wow, that's it. That's a good
Amen.
one.
Amen.
Pray for the Prince of Peace
Amen.
to settle in the Middle East.
It's a good rhyme, but it means something.
Yeah.
It's a good rhyme. Well, let's pray and thank God for all that he's done. David,
Well,
do the honors, brother.
Avinu Shebashamayim, we want to thank you for your hands in everything that's happening. We can sit here and we can talk about this or we can talk about that. We have no idea. And again, we see your plan being played out on the maps and on the TV channels and on the YouTube channels. And we just want to say thank you that you're in control, because we would have messed it up a long time ago. We want to thank you for looking out for what's happening in Israel, looking out for us. We don't always understand how this works, but the mechanisms that you've been putting in place are moving this world according to your plan. We want to pray for the Weissman family that are going through the most terrible ordeal that they can go through. We want to pray for all the families, all the hostages, those who are being released and those who are not being released. We want to pray for all of Israel who is still suffering from this terrible wound of what has happened to us. And we want to pray for your prince to settle over the Middle East,
Yes.
to settle his peace over the Middle East. So finally, my people and all the peoples in the area will know him, know you, and come to peace. And we just pray this in Jesus' name.
In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Amen and amen. It's heavy. Okay, guys, we love you. Keep fighting the good fight. We've got some great stories coming up by the end of the week. By the way, like I said, I was recorded on PragerU, so you might want to go out there and check that out. Check out David's new video that he just released. And then we've got some big ones coming up. I've got a video coming up on the leadership change in Lebanon. Got another video coming up on Saudi Arabia, I believe, signaling Israel to destroy Iran's nuclear facility. That's coming up.
It looks like we're going to have to.
Oh, yeah, come on. And a couple of other really good stories coming your way. A lot of people are asking me if the fires in Southern California are the beginning of the apocalypse. I'm hearing that statement. So clearly the answer to that is no. But I did a great video on it, by the way. That's getting released on Thursday. So I'll give you guys an education, and we'll go over the history of some of the major disasters that have happened over the years.
There you go.
In California, and how they could or all over the country, and how they could have all been very easily called the apocalypse. By the way, when we use the word apocalypse, it means the revealing. That's just what it means. So it's a great video. We're looking forward to. We got quite a program ahead. So we love you guys. Anything with Jack Hibbs? Look, Jack Hibbs is an extraordinarily busy man. We always talk about doing stuff together and rarely get to do it. Jack Hibbs, in my opinion, is one of the all-time. He's one of the heroes. He's an amazing man. I have a lot of respect and admiration for him. There's very little, if anything at all, that I disagree with when it comes to Jack Hibbs. I love the man. I have an amazing amount of admiration in my heart for him. I think he's done a great job. So anyway, all right, with that, guys, we love you. God bless you. And by the way, pray for Jack Hibbs. He's going to be under fire, especially over his last Sunday sermon.
That's a
very proud of Jack, man. I'm glad. I love it. I did something like that. I did something like that in my Sunday sermon, but my sermon don't get out like Jack's does. So
check out the sermon. You'll see what he's talking about.
Oh yeah. Love you guys. God bless you. Keep fighting the good fight.